Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I think this was a bill on which there was a marginal call made by the Labor Party to support it going to a select committee. After a bit of discussion, we've heard the evidence. I think the general view is that most of the time it's a relatively harmless bill, but there are some dangers in it that we weren't cognisant of before we went to the select committee, and so the marginal call is that we will now oppose the bill. Mr Speaker, I'm not going to pretend that this is a serious piece of legislation in the way that most of the legislation that comes from Kate Wilkinson is. I'm not going to pretend that it's going to make an enormous difference in the lives of workers all over the country or have them sacked left, right and centre in the way that Kate Wilkinson tries to do with her legislation. But the point we've come to is that the compliance costs and the extra regulation that flows from this is unnecessary and probably more importantly in the hands of wrong employers it could lead to extra litigation. Now again, I'm not saying that most employers will be at all affected by this, because I think we all know that strikes are relatively rare in New Zealand compared to most countries. And actually most employers are satisfied with the ballots that occur. And I think we also know that unions are generally very reluctant to get involved in strike action unless they have a clear mandate from their members. And that actually, if unions think it's going to be a close-run thing on a strike ballot, the chances are that the ballot's not even put because people want to have a groundswell and a clear support if people are going on strike, because it's a very serious thing for the workers are involved. But in some cases it does happen. There is a clear majority, and the concern that the Labor Party has that in the hands of unscrupulous employers, and I give the example which always results in Damien O'Connor getting a phone call if the Tally's AFCO link. If New Zealand's worst employers and the only employers, in fact, to lose a case under the Employment Contracts Act to be held to be in breach of that, if they decided to use this sort of legislation in order to stop a strike, it could cost a lot of money to the workers involved in legal expenses and that sort of thing, and to no major benefit. The other pretty obvious point to make is that there's no countervailing obligations on employers in this legislation. In most parts of industrial legislation, there are countervailing obligations. If there's an obligation for the employees or the organisation of employees, there's an obligation for employers. And in this case, I'm not sure what it should be. Some of my colleagues have suggested that it may be that shareholders should approve a lockout or take that approach. There's a halfway point which I would possibly be more supportive of if we're going in for a countervailing thing, that at least the board of directors should make a decision and not a lower level official in a firm. Well, my colleagues tell me that I'm too soft. Actually, the whole legislation is rubbish, and therefore the countervailing, that where the countervailing balance is probably not that relevant. But there is no countervailing balance in this, and to be fair and equitable and balanced legislation, there should be. And I think it is fair to say that it is legislation that has come from someone who wants to fix a problem that doesn't exist. I mean, I'm yet to. In fact, the only person that I can remember being involved in ballot fixing in all my time, far too long since I've been involved in the union movement in the late 1960s when I first became Oh, very generous, very generous. The only person who can remember who'd been involved in any of that sort of allegation there is one person still involved, and and she, I think, would be too scared to do it again because she's been pretty closely watched. No, I'm not looking at you, but I know that the member knows who I'm talking about. So what this member, Tohanare, is doing is trying to fix a problem which doesn't exist, and really in the last 15 years there's been no evidence of it actually occurring. And he is out of touch. It might have been the way that he acted when he was the chief bottler for the Clerical Workers Union back in the mid-1980s. That might have been his approach when he was a union official, but, Mr Speaker, that's one of the reasons. I'm sure if he did take that approach, that would be, inter alia, one of the reasons that he got the sack when he did. And Mr Speaker, what we're seeing here, I think, is the revenge of the bottler. The revenge of the bottler on the part of Mr Hinari. I think, in fact, I've witnessed the scar. I've witnessed the scar. And so it's no good denying that member should go outside the House and deny his activities as a bottler. The member should go outside the House and deny his activities as a bottler, and the reason that he lost his job. He could not keep a job as a Clerical Workers Union official, and now he's so upset about it 15, 25 years later, however long it is. So Tohanare is attempting to get his revenge. Well, what he should know is now, like then, you bottle someone when you're a union official, you lose your job, and you shouldn't go around trying to take out revenge on your old colleagues, your old comrades, in the way that Tohanare is doing now.
Order.
Oh, absolutely, Tom. Never been sacked as a teacher, unlike Tohanare, who was sacked as a union official for inappropriate activity with a bottle.
David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr.